First off, when we look at schools, and we look at society, there's a big difference. Society is changing. Society changes pretty fast. But one thing remains constant. Schools don't change. Think about your schools. When I speak to principals all over this country, one thing remains constant. This. For one, we live in a time where information, media, is all around. It's so much a part of our children's lives. But what do schools do? The second kids get to our doors, we're pulling out the plugs as fast as we can. We're taking away the devices. We're saying, no, 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 bad, bad, bad. And I should know, because 2 years ago, I led the charge at my school. No way, no how, not on my watch. Distraction, not a part of learning. Well, then I had an epiphany. And for me, my epiphany was Twitter of all things. And, you know, March 2009, I got involved with Twitter and I learned about this whole new world. I'm like, man, I'm a pretty lousy principal. Because my school, my kids are coming to my school and they're not happy. They're not engaged. Now don't get me wrong, I have fantastic teachers. But you know what? When they're in a world where they're connected and they come to what was my boring school, we weren't reaching them like we should have. So what I do now, I encourage all leaders, because we all have the capacity to lead, you don't have to be a principal, to jump on the social media bandwagon, because it is a portal to a new world that's out there. And the variety of resources, and most importantly in these tough economic times, they're free. And the kids can teach us how to use the tools. It's our job to create a learning environment and lessons that meet objectives. So when you look at this dynamic tool that we have at our disposal, I call it multi-dimensional. Just look at all these powerful things that you can do. What principal, what parent, what teacher, what librarian wouldn't want their students involved, wouldn't want them creating their own content, discussing, promoting, and measuring? Who wouldn't want that? And when you look at this, it's all about conversations. There's so many different tools out there, you don't have to be an expert on just one. That was my biggest mistake in the beginning, is I tried to do it all at once. Now I started to pick 1 or 2 tools. But again, the things the transformations that are taking place in my school, because we established a vision that was more in line of our students' interests and needs. So, I'm going to talk about what I call my 6 pillars of Leadership 2.0. And the first is communication. Communication is so important in education. How you communicate to your students, how you communicate to your parents, how you communicate with your administrators, how administrators communicate with the public. How many schools in here, how many people have a school as a Facebook page? Okay, about half. In New Jersey, I know a lot of districts will not take a Facebook page. This now is our hub of information. And you want to know how this came about? Wasn't my idea. I make sure I give credit to those that came up with it. Because I was so into Twitter, my students would call me Mr. Twitter. We got a lot of publicity for it. But one day we're having a meeting with members of student government, and they're like, Mr. Sheninger, we know you love Twitter, but it doesn't work for us. If you want to get information to us and communicate with us, you need to get on Facebook. That was in April 2010. So I did what any smart digital immigrant would do. That weekend, I pulled aside my 10-year-old nephew and my Joseph. I don't know how to create a page. And now I'm proud to say this is our hub of information. We are communicating in real time with not just the greater New Milford community, but the community as a whole. We have about 1,600 people that like the page. I'd say a fourth of them aren't even connected to my community. Then we have Twitter. Best way to communicate with parents real-time information, sports scores, student achievements, meetings. I don't know, to me it just seems like common sense. Why wouldn't we use a tool to get messages across to our stakeholders that costs us nothing? What we do in New Milford is we teach, I give them a form, I do still use snail mail once a year. I give them a form that says, here's how you log on to Twitter. Here's why we're using it. This is what you're going to get out of it. And here's how you get text messages. Now, I will say early on, one of my parents was actually following this account. This account's a little more professional in terms of like leadership, my ideas, and the parents like, you know what, Mr. Sheninger, I love how you're so passionate about differentiated instruction, cooperative learning, classroom management, but I'm sick and tired of my phone going off at 9 in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's why I created the New Milford High School Twitter account. And again, with this, I feel, you know, as an administrator, I have to model all this for my community, my staff. I run the Facebook page, I run all the Twitter accounts. It doesn't take as much time as you think, but just don't say that to my wife. So, communication number one. Number two, public relations. Why in the world would we want to leave our public relations to chance? Think about education today. All we hear in the mainstream media is the negative things going on. That Missouri law on Facebook got so much publicity, and it wasn't positive. We now have the tools to make sure that it's a constant stream of positive information. And what does it do? It takes a little bit of time. Whether you're doing a newsletter, an email, a memo. I can't even stand email because for me it takes too long. These are the tools we have, that leaders have to our disposal. Blogs, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr. We have accounts for all that now in New Milford High School because it's different ways to advertise the great things that are going on in my school. Now, listen. I don't live under a rock. Everyone has great things going on in your school. But if your leaders and you as educators are not using social media tools to advertise it, no one is going to know about it. And the reason I say that is it's going to lead into another thing in a little bit. But also, I'm a stickler for time, so that's why I'm going a little fast. Establish a brand presence. You know, when we talk about branding, branding's usually a term synonymous with the business world. But you know what? As educators in the schools, we can establish our own brand presence. Now, if you saw the Facebook page and Twitter accounts, it always has the New Milford Knight, the pillars, that's my school, the green, the white, the black. Because when people hear about New Milford High School and they see those symbols, those colors, I want them to think innovation, student engagement, student achievement, rising test scores, even though we don't place emphasis on it. All of the positives. So many of you here, whether you want to believe it or not, have created your own brand presence. Shannon Miller's done a fabulous job of that. You know, when I hear her name, I'm thinking all the innovation going on in their meter. You all have the capacity to do that at an individual level and a school level. Professional growth. Number three. In this 2.0 world, we have the tools and the opportunities to learn and to grow together. We're no longer isolated in our schools. We don't live on islands. I know when I first started teaching, it felt that way. And as a principal now, I'd say probably 90% of principals in New Jersey aren't connected on social media, but I'm hoping to change that next month. But now I'm learning from my colleagues. I'm learning from principals in different countries, different states. It costs me time. That's it. But you know what? Time is one of the biggest excuses why we don't move forward in our profession. You hear it from teachers, you hear it from administrators, I don't have time for this. All this energy is focused on excuses when we need to be focused on solutions. Time's not an issue if you embed it into your job. That's what we've done. That's what I've done. Again, I said, I'd rather be working on my social media spaces to promote what's going on in my school than writing newsletters. Or working on my blog, advertising the great things that I get from my teachers. And I'll blog about my teachers, and you know what? I don't know if they know that, I make them do all the work. I collect a report once a month, they give me all these great things going on, I say, hey, can I blog about that? Copy, paste, add my 10 cents, done. It's great! Look at all these options you have to grow professionally for free. Why are we not utilizing them? Why are not schools using them? Top left, Educators PLN, served by a friend of mine, Tom Whitney, about a year and a half ago. Below that, Classroom 2.0. You have Twitter, ASCD Edge, edweb.net, Google+, blogs. Again, we can go out, pay thousands of dollars to bring keynote speakers in. We could. But you know what? You can bring those experts in. You can pull on collective expertise. I've heard already so many stories today of people growing professionally at really odd hours of the day. I'm sorry, 12:30 a.m. I get up at 4:45 a.m. I will not be up that early. Working, but but we have all these tools at our disposal. Student engagement, number 4. This is great. This diagram right here, look at it. When people say, well, technology, it's worthless, it's meaningless, but we've heard today all the things you do with technology, and look at this. It's great. This was given to me by one of my Twitter friends. You look at the different higher order thinking skills based on Bloom's taxonomy, attached to all the different tools that you can use. All right? We want our students, as mentioned today, we want them to be producers of content. We want them to create. When we think about schools and student engagement, we have to rethink and look at pedagogy. How are we teaching? The old model for a faculty-based system, sage on the stage, standing in front, lecturing, we can't have it anymore. But in order for a school to adopt a mentality of 21st century pedagogy, one, we have to be willing to give up control. We have to give up control. We've heard the word flexibility. You have to be flexible. And you gotta take risks. But so often, and I know, my colleagues, the principals, are ones afraid to give up control to the educators. But you know what? I'd rather have a school with all my educators running around doing incredible things, altering their lesson plans at the last minute, working outside the parameters of the school day to benefit the students. Learning environment should look like this. Students should be the center of it. They are now the expertise. They can access the information. Okay? They can access it. Can they interpret it? Can they develop their own ideas, hypotheses, research? All right? They're the experts. We need to take advantage of that. All of our students walk around with, most of our students walk around with an extremely powerful tool. Why are we not allowing them to use the devices that they have? In my school, I'm proud to say that this year we have pretty much lifted our ban on phones. And a kid went to the board meeting on Monday night and said that me allowing the students to use their phones at lunch was the best thing ever. And what do I see them doing? I'm walking around. I ask them. I'm seeing kids working on projects, doing research, taking notes, updating their calendar so that they know when their assignments are due. It's great. My teachers are using Poll Everywhere in class. But again, it's a shift. And again, everyone has to be involved in the process. But again, why would we not do this? Why are we afraid of this? We all have phones as adults. I think I see more teachers on their phones in the halls and the cafeterias in any school I go to than I do the students. Number 5, opportunity. My school is open opportunity. Is yours? Once we reestablished our vision, our goals, opportunity sort of found us. I don't have to go looking for it. In my school, I've had tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, technology given to us. I've had a staff member flown to Israel for a week. I've Skyped, my teachers have Skyped with Van Meter. We did a joint student government meeting with a high school in Ohio. I'm now hosting my 2nd annual conference now because people thought that this stuff was important. Now, my teachers get the benefit in the district because they go for free. It's only $35. And we feed them lunch, breakfast, all that good stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I want the best opportunities for my students, and I know all of you do too. But you know what? You have to get yourself in those spaces and connect with people. I came here today, and right off the bat, I knew 5 people, and we forged our connections online. I've met more people today than I followed on Twitter. But again, when schools sort of have that bunker mentality, you're not going to have that opportunity. So Foundation for Leadership 2.0, in my opinion, you have to have a vision, and it has to be clearly articulated. You need to support. You need to support one another. Even if you're on your own, you need to fight for what you feel is right. You need to fight for your students. You need to tell your principal or other naysayer colleagues that this is important. You can't let them bring you down. I think we all see that all too often. You've got to push forward. I pushed forward in my district. because I felt it was right. And still not many people in my state have adopted this way, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm seeing the benefits. You need to see the benefits. You need to help your leaders see those benefits. We need to have flexibility in the day. I tell my teachers, if you want to schedule another country, we'll do in-school field trips, we'll open the school up at night, I'll come in early. Doesn't matter to me. Calculated risk-taking. You don't want to just take risks all the time. If you really think, well, I don't really think this is going to work at all, you should take calculated risks. You need to have a passion for what you do. All of you here today, because you're passionate with what you do. You have to be passionate. You gotta wear that on your sleeve. You have to have patience. When you change the way you lead, whether it's in your library, your classroom, your school, things are not going to change overnight, and you need to understand that. And you need to model what you expect your students to do, what you expect from your parents, and what you expect from your staff. Because in the long run, it is all about providing the best opportunities for your students. You want them to be passionate and excited to come to school. I'm seeing that now. After 2.5 years, my kids are coming to school. They're much more engaged because I have the data from walkthroughs to prove it, but they're coming excited. They're getting into great schools, and they're emailing us back saying, you know what, my teachers prepared me to be successful at the next level, and that's what's most important. But you know what, it's up to all of you. You need to make it happen, and you need to keep making your voices heard, or it's not going to happen. But again, change is upon us. Is it the type of change that we want? You have the power to make that happen. Thank you very much.